Coming up, it's our full review of MyMagic Plus, including Magic Bands and FastPass Plus. That's what's next on the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 635 for the week of August 6th, 2013. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney World, Disneyland, and Disney Cruise Line vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, hello and welcome everyone to the Diz Unplugged, coming to you from the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida. I am your host, Dustin West, joined at the table this week by John Magi, Kevin Close, Sean Thompson, Corey Martin. Back in the production nook, we have Craig Williams, our associate producer. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us. I am Dustin West. I am your host this week, filling in for Pete Werner, who will be returning for next week's show. And of course, we do wish he was here because he was on this experience with us for the FastPass Plus, Magic Bands, and MyMagic Plus stuff. So we would have loved to have his input on this for sure. But I'm gonna let Sean and Craig kind of take this one. And
all right.
We had a cool experience the other day.
We did, yeah. Testing opened up on August 2nd to guests, which was this is their first official guest testing phase. Before that, it was open to cast members, and they were allowed to bring guests on their reservation. However, they weren't choosing just purely guest reservations. So this was a cool experience for us to really, do it on our own, have the Magic Bands ourselves, go through all the different aspects of it as if we were guests on a vacation, from the very beginning.
Well, first of all, for those that just have no concept as to what MyMagic Plus is at all, maybe we should give a brief overview.
First, I actually just want to say that we have a short overview video and a comprehensive blog post that we posted, I believe, on Saturday. Those are up on both our YouTube channel and our blog at blog.wdwinfo.com.
That was a great video and blog. I learned a lot from that.
Very informative.
Thanks, It was cool to put together, and it's just a little video that you can watch. I think it's about 6 or 7 minutes that kind of gives you just a basic understanding of what it is.
Exactly, and we're not going to take the time to play it right now because we're going to go a little more in-depth with it. But, there is information in those videos in the blog that we might forget to insert into this. So definitely make sure to check it out if you haven't yet, just because we don't want you to miss some information in case it just kind of goes over our heads today.
And I'm sure we can put that video in the show notes.
Oh, absolutely.
Well.
Exactly.
We for sure will. And also, I'm keeping an eye on chat. So if you have any questions, if you're watching live and you have any questions, send them in and we'll try to get to those and answer them.
Very cool.
But yeah, so like Dustin said, we should probably just kind of explain a little bit about what everything is, because there's lots of like new Disney-fied words like with magic and pluses and all this kind of stuff. So the overall term is MyMagic Plus, and that's kind of the name for everything. It's the entire program. So we used to call it Next Gen because we knew it had something to do with like RFID scanners and all that kind of stuff. But now the official term is MyMagic Plus. That encompasses everything. And then within that we have the FastPass Plus system, which people are kind of really interested in because it's kind of replacing the old FastPass system.
Right.
Then we have the My Disney Experience, which is basically the new name for your Disney account online. So this is where you go put in your reservation information, your dining reservations, all the different things that involve your vacation.
Yeah.
So the difference from what it used to be is you never really had an account that linked all these things together.
Exactly. A few aspects were there. Like you could go in and see your dining reservations or, kind of...
So, go ahead.
Yeah, just different things like that.
Yeah. The other thing to note, too, if you didn't ever make a DisneyWorld.com, like login name, all that stuff, if you ever had a Disney.com login, it's now all linked together. So it goes to every aspect of the Disney website. So that's
even like ESPN.com and those different affiliated
Yeah.
Disney sites.
And that happened for me. I hadn't booked anything on DisneyWorld.com in a couple years.
Yeah.
And I logged in with what I assumed was still my
You had your
username.
login from ABC.com.
Was
for your
it?
General Hospital fan fiction.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, so if you have any kind of Disney account, you can use it to log in.
Okay.
So that's My Disney Experience, and then you can access that either through their website, mydisneyexperience.com. They also have apps for your mobile devices, so iOS. They have iPad apps, iPod apps, and iPhone. And they also have Android right now. They have nothing for Windows phones currently, but I would assume that they're going to try to cover everything.
Right.
So I'm sure that that's probably coming up soon.
And the BlackBerry app is next. After
BlackBerry, yes, all that. Gigapet app.
Gigapet app.
Yeah, so that's the My Disney Experience account. And then the other thing that people are really focusing on are the Magic Bands themselves.
Right.
Which there are a lot of questions about. And this was a huge thing that we tested on Friday. So, and we'll kind of get into that a little later. But those are just the basic terms. The Magic Bands are very similar to your room keep because all it basically is an RFID chip that has all the information for your account available. I don't want to say on it because it's definitely not on it. It has your account number on it, and then from that, Disney can access your information.
In a way, it's like any credit card or any kind of thing that has a magnetic strip or an RFID reader. It is simply just a number that is then accessed to an account on a computer somewhere else.
So those are just the basic components of it and kind of the new terms. Yeah, so like I said earlier, testing started August 2nd for a few of the resorts. Right. Pop Century, Yacht Club, Contemporary, and Animal Kingdom Lodge were the first 4.
Can I clarify something? Can I go back real quick?
Yeah.
For those of you who are wondering, can I participate in this? Can this happen for me? You're talking about resorts at check-in. You're talking about this being something you got at check-in at these resorts, correct?
What do you mean?
You got your Magic Bands when you checked into the resort?
Yes, but people are also getting notified weeks in advance.
I was just gonna. That's what my point I was gonna get to was that.
Okay. Yeah, we have.
We're having clients contacted, and some people are being chosen in advance to get their bands before they leave. Do the whole picking out the colors thing. So I just don't want people at home to go, well, I'm staying at that resort. How come I don't have my bands?
It's not for everyone. They are choosing specific random reservations.
Correct.
I got the feeling it also goes by day that you're checking in.
Okay.
Because I noticed the day we checked in, it seemed as though almost everyone was getting them, every reservation. However, maybe the next day if we had gone back, it wouldn't have been that same situation. So there's really no guarantee.
I think as of right now,
so y'all just took a chance that you would get the Magic Band.
We did actually, yeah.
As of right now, I think they're still coining this as a beta test.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
That's just what they're calling it.
And so, in that same vein, if you do elect to participate in this, don't expect a perfect experience with it. Because they're testing it and they're finding out what works and what doesn't. And so then they'll go back and adjust what they do. And so we saw some of that actually through the test. So our experience, it was a little interesting. We had actually only one person on the reservation. So Pete was on the reservation at the very beginning.
Right.
So he was on the reservation probably about a week in advance. And he had a Magic Band waiting for him at the resort with his name on it. And we actually have the band and the box.
And it looks so lonely when it was...
Yeah, because you get this pretty big box, and then there's just this one lone slot for the band.
I've seen boxes that have had up to 5 in that same...
Show the box again. I think... the top of the box, the graphic. I'm not sure what this will look like in the future, but if there's any guess that Disney wants to make, is expecting to make money off of this.
Yeah.
Look at this packaging and look at the graphic and look at, everything involved with it. It's pretty.
It's a great
incredible.
presentation.
It's incredible. It really is.
And right now they're using the Incredibles family as kind of their go-to mascots.
Yeah, when we went and sat in on the meeting, they explained to us that they're the mascots for it because they represent a family, quote unquote, on vacation, and what everyone wants to do something different. Everybody has different goals and abilities, so that's why they were chosen as the represent the Magic Bands.
And then Craig and I were added to the reservation the day before, so we were on the reservation for the room, but we didn't have Magic Bands waiting for us.
Right.
And then Dustin, actually, you were on the reservation that day.
Last minute.
Exactly. So we got to see almost every situation. But the three of us got bands encoded for us on the spot, which was actually a fairly easy process. We got them quickly, and it worked fine. I mean, she just took brand new ones. She had like generic ones in the back of the desk and then encoded them for us right there.
It was no hassle at all. The things that you have to remember in this situation, if that happens to you, first off, you only get the gray ones. You don't get to get a different color. You're just getting the stock one. And then your name's also not going to be printed on the band. It's going to just have the number that is whatever, like it would be on the same type of key card if you were given it. It's just a stock number, and then that number goes into your My Disney experience, and it gets linked to your reservation.
I think in the future you're looking at...
has his name on it.
Because he was,
he was the original person on the reservation, yeah.
I think in the future you're looking at pretty much 99% of the people will have these in advance.
Yeah.
Will have their names on them. Will have them linked for themselves and color coordinated. What was the process for coding them? What did she do?
She had a little scanner behind the desk.
Yeah.
And so what she did was she had our account information, and so she just plugged that in and then actually just touched
cool.
to the RFID scanner, yeah.
Yeah, it looked very similar to the same way they've been doing it now since they installed the RFID chips in the Key to the World card. It's still the exact same system. It's just a Magic Band instead of the actual key card. So,
all right, if I'm jumping ahead, you guys can yell at me.
Okay.
Did you get like special instructions? Did you get warnings that this is a test? What did they say to you when you got
For us, it was probably a little bit of a different experience because we had cameras and we obviously knew what we were doing. Pete was wearing his Google Glass, so they knew we were fairly, technological, and they knew we were expecting this and knew what to do with them.
You're trying to hack it, Yeah.
Yeah. However, I did see other people check in, and they were very, they explained everything. It is optional. I think even when you check in, if they tell you then, you can still say no because it is a testing period. But most of the people had, confirmed it ahead of time.
Right.
Well, not even that. I don't think it's optional in a way that they ask you, hey, we got these here for you. Do you want them? It's more or less of like they have them ready for some people. Even though they don't think they're getting them, they'll still have them ready. But they also hand you the Key to the World cards with it too. So then once you get your bands, you have that choice between what you want to use. So it's kind of like
and that's what I meant optional. They're not going to force you to use the Magic Bands. You get both options.
They can't do that.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the things she was saying? I'm curious. Is she saying to people, anything about security concerns, which is the big question everybody has?
Yeah. I didn't hear any of that. I don't know if...
I'm sure they'd be able to address it for you if you had specific questions.
I do. It wasn't part of the spiel of...
I will say this. We walked into that resort and looked at the front desk, and there were about 50 cast members behind the front desk. They were definitely expecting...
Yeah. But you know what? That's what Disney does well.
Right?
Yeah. When Disney is prepared and they know stuff's going on, they usually are very good at that stuff.
I don't want to jump on your toes, but not only did they have like managers and technicians and all kinds of people behind the front desk, they also had another desk, like a help desk as well.
They did, and every resort that's going to be participating in the testing will have a special MyMagic Plus help desk where people can go to not only answer questions about the program, but to schedule stuff for their My Disney Experience account. So FastPass Plus, I think even they were helping with dining reservations,
right?
Things like that.
Yeah, because I came on late, I had an issue with being technically a part of the reservation. I wasn't like necessarily linked up. I didn't.
Well, here's the thing with that. I will say that if you really want to take advantage of MyMagic Plus, it takes a little bit of pre-planning and work. Like I said, you really want to go into My Disney Experience, your account, and have everything set up.
Yeah.
You want to have your resort reservation linked. You want to have valid park admission, because that's what allows you to participate in FastPass Plus.
Right.
And you also want to be friends and family with everyone that is on your reservations. So it's kind of like a social network where you can add people on as friends, and that's what you really want to do beforehand. And so I think for you didn't have your annual pass attached, but So but once you did that, you weren't technically on the resort yet, so they had to refresh that.
Yeah. And it took quite a little while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before we go any further with it too, one question I had is, we know about all the security issues, but were the same people who were worried about security with the Magic Bands worried whenever the Key to the World cards started going all RFID?
Yeah, I think there's a group of people out there who are concerned about the RFID in general. that this is a concern for them. And, we go back and forth and we talk about it. I was just concerned. I was wondering if part of the spiel to get them was, here's your Magic Band. It can be used to make purchases, and it's your meals. It's completely safe. It's, don't worry about anything. If that was part of what you got when you stepped up.
We never got anything like that. I don't think it's on Disney's mind at all that it could potentially ever be an issue.
However, I feel like if it, it is on their mind, and I feel like if it did come up, they would be totally prepared to answer questions.
So it's they did more of a reactive than a proactive.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I think people are concerned. I mean, if you've ever flown in Red Sky Mall, you can buy an RFID blocking wallet.
Yeah.
So I think that, people have that in the back of their minds, or, it's just a question of this is new technology that maybe not everyone understands.
Yeah. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it's just as dangerous as whenever you hear about people like taking credit card information from gas stations. I think that's more likely to happen to you than RFID scandals at Disney World.
Yeah.
But sorry.
It's okay.
All right, so you got your Magic Bands.
Yes, we checked in, got our Magic Bands, and then, like Dustin mentioned, he had some issues with that.
Right.
But they helped you at the help desk, right? The MyMagic Plus desk.
Absolutely.
It took a while. I know that.
It took a little while. I think I freaked the system out a little, pretty good, because I was doing everything like out of order from when I was supposed to do it. If I had just gone in early that morning or the night before and got everything set, everything would have been fine.
And that's what I mean. It takes a little bit of pre-planning work.
Yeah. But it was relatively easy to get my Florida annual pass associated to my card. It was just then getting onto the reservation.
And that was kind of a shock to me because we weren't sure if annual passes would count, would be able to be added to your My Disney Experience
absolutely.
account. Well, not even Disney really knew. It was kind of a shock to them, too. We knew eventually it would.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But for this test,
they weren't
sure.
That I had been told that it would.
Oh, absolutely.
I know
in the future. Okay. But this was their first day of testing. And so, but it worked out fine. We were able to put our APs on our account, and it counted towards our valid park admission. So we could then schedule fast passes.
Right.
Yeah. But I remember you went to the desk and you said, "Oh, but I have my AP attached." And they're like, "Oh, you can't use that with the testing." Yeah.
I had to call to you. Wait a minute. I thought
he did it over there. Yeah,
he did it. Why can't I do it?
But we got that worked out, and I think the next thing we did was we went and actually got the accessories for the bands themselves, which are pretty cool. They're all kind of at an upcharge.
Did you get those at the resort?
Yeah. Every resort will have a section in the gift shop.
They had a pretty nice display.
They did, and some kind of dorky shirts as well.
Yeah, I saw those. Who would wear that?
Yeah, that's kind of pushing at Disney with the merchandise.
What did the shirt say again?
I'm with the band.
I'm with the band.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah, but we got, there it is.
With the band. Oh, jeez.
That's their first pass at the.
None of us got that shirt. Yeah.
Oh, I have it.
Do you?
Yeah. I have to get everything.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
We're selling it on eBay probably. So we got the Magic Bandits is what they're called. I think I previously called them Magic Bits. They are not those. But basically, they're very similar to the gibbets that you would put in Crocs shoes that they sold a few years ago. They kind of just snap into the empty holes that you're not using on the Magic Band. And they have a few different designs. They have Phineas and Ferb. They have the Muppets, some Nightmare Before Christmas, just some plain Mickey ones.
Pete got the park icons.
Yep, they have some park icons.
How much were they?
I don't have it pulled up, but they were fairly reasonable. I think for 3 of them, it cost $6.95. And I think if you got 4 of them, it was like $7.95? $8.95. Yeah. So, I mean, however, these will last you 2 years. There's a battery inside. So they kind of have a shelf life of 2 years. The Magic Bands themselves do. So if you come back multiple times a year, I can see people spending $8 to get something that personalizes them, you know?
Right. It's just like buying the new cover for your phone or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. So in addition to the Magic Bandits, they have these kind of fabric sleeves. I think they're called cover bands.
Sweat absorbers.
I love Disney.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, come on.
That's what's paying for these boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's paying for the stuff.
I mean,
know
people want to do
buy
this
them.
stuff, yeah.
Oh, no, I agree. People will do it for sure, but it cracks me up.
Yeah, ahead of time going into it, I wasn't planning on getting any of the bandits.
Yeah.
I had to think of the name again. But I actually wanted to get one of the sliders to go through with it because they have like a 3-pack of Star Wars ones.
Do they really?
And, yeah, and that's the only thing I was planning on getting for it. But decided to change my mind after we actually looked at everything.
Which ones did you get?
Sean and I kind of split the Muppets and Nightmare Before Christmas. So we have these weird little freaky bands.
Yeah, so I got Jack Skellington and Fozzie Bear. Yeah.
So this thing that goes over it, that's just if you don't want to go walk around with this on, it makes it more.
Well, it makes it look like a giant pirate bracelet.
Yeah, I guess it makes it more generic than walking around with a band. But the technology works through that, I assume.
Oh yeah,
So you just,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a thin piece of cloth.
The one thing we didn't actually buy were the sliders like Craig was talking about. They have Star Wars ones, but they kind of slide up to make it look like a watch face.
No, for that one, the only ones we saw were they have like a mini one, and I'm sure they have a Mickey one as well too. Yeah. Then they had other ones. The ones that make it look like a watch aren't really great. They don't look really like they flesh out on the band. I didn't like it at all. But the other thing I noticed whenever we used FastPass Plus, got into the parks, they said that your band doesn't have to be right up against the sensor to actually work.
Right.
But from what we saw, the band really should be right up against the sensor to get it to work properly. And the watch face accessories, they would definitely get in the way.
I will say that it was pretty picky. The scanners were really picky. You had to perfectly have it centered on the device itself, and then wait a couple seconds, and then it would glow green or whatever to let you.
Where is the sensor located in that band?
In the exact center of the band with the Mickey icon. Okay. So kind of what they're using is they're saying touch the Mickey icon to the other Mickey icon. So the scanners will also have a circle with Mickey shape in the center of it. Right. So you just touch them together.
All right.
I'm holding out for the ankle bracelets.
Really?
So you can kick your way into the Magic
Kingdom. A high kick. Trying to get in the park.
I know Pete wanted you to mention.
He got the Magic Bandits just like we did. He did have some issues with them staying in. So I didn't experience that, but I think if you put them in and take them out a few times, you would notice that because they just kind of go into the open holes.
The ones that I had were in there pretty good. It took a pretty good amount of force to be able to pop them out of the holes. But he did end up losing a couple.
And if you have, if you're walking along and you brush it against something, they could easily come off that way.
Right.
Absolutely.
But as far as you do have to put pressure if you're just going to sit there and try to pull it off. It's not going to just fall out.
No, you said you did use it for entry, and you had to get right up against the thing for entry. Did you guys use it for purchases and food?
We used it for almost everything we could.
Yeah.
So while still at Pop, we used it at the quick service location. Got something there and used the scanner just like they've had forever with the room keys, but this was just we used the band. So we touched our wrist to the scanner, and it worked fine.
Yeah, they've been installing, if you've been in, I guess the last 8 months, they've been installing those scanners at different merchandise and food locations and throughout Disney, and you've been able to use your card. But now, obviously, Magic Band is the ultimate goal.
And you guys found it worked fine pretty much anywhere you went? There were no issues?
There were a few issues. I mean, there was one table service location issue we had later on in the day.
As far as the first start, first we got the accessories. When we went to pay with that, it worked fine. And then when we tried to get food in the food court, we did have an issue. But the cast members all were they were working really hard to get it to cooperate with them. It took them lifting up the little scanner and getting it right on the wrist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, so there have been issues, but they get it figured out quickly. So
I can tell you that they've installed the scanners at the outlets, but they're not hooked up yet. We were there yesterday.
Disney has installed them?
Yeah.
What will you be able to do with those?
Purchase on your room keys.
Oh, like the Disney store outlets.
The Disney outlets.
Oh, okay.
The Disney outlets at the different malls.
Yeah, not like Coach.
I thought it was like Five Guys. I was like, oh, wow.
No, only at the Disney outlets. They had the little scanners at the cash register, and when someone went to touch their card to it, was told that they're there, they're just not hooked up to it yet.
Okay, yeah. And the thing, like I said, this was a test. And so even if we tried this and it didn't work, there was always backup. We had our room keys with us. We obviously had whatever. I mean, they were always willing to, try the next thing if it didn't work. So there was always a backup option. So I think then we left the resort and we headed to Epcot. And I had actually scheduled FastPasses for some of us. Craig and I actually had FastPass Plus scheduled.
Right.
And so did you, but it took you a little longer because
I didn't have access to it immediately.
Yeah, so you booked yours a little later.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to get the same FastPass reservations that they
exactly.
were.
But ours were booked the night before. And what it takes to do FastPass Plus is you have to have valid park admission on your account, and you have to have a room reservation. So those two things allow you to, and that's why it doesn't have the issues. But once we did that, we had everything scheduled, and this whole FastPass Plus scheduling thing is really interesting. So you're allowed to have 3 reservations per day per park. For one park only.
Can we just stop and rewind just for a second?
Yeah.
You said in order to be able to use FastPass Plus, you have to have ticket media and a room.
Exactly.
And so, what about annual pass holders?
That's right. That's still, unless I'm saying something that you know more than I do. The information we've received from Disney is that is going to happen.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, annual pass holders will be able to schedule FastPass Plus, as well as people staying off property, off Disney property, even with a regular ticket admission. It's going to be strictly based on ticket admission going forward, but I think,
and that's why I feel like we should probably just say that everything we say on the show right now could change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty suddenly. I mean, this is all just testing, and this is how things are right now.
Okay.
When the whole thing rolls out later this fall or winter, whenever it does, it might be very different.
Okay.
Things will probably change. Like they have a few situations that they really need to work out, like annual pass holders, off property reservations, things like that. But this was just how it worked for us.
Right. Okay.
There's also questions too. Cast members have questions about it. You know, if they have family in town, how are they going to use it?
Or just for themselves. I mean, their main gates. I mean, that's not figured out yet.
Yep. So talk about FastPass Plus.
Yeah. So like I said, I did it the night before, and it allows.
I'm sorry. Pete just... I know.
About FastPass Plus.
I know. I'm sorry.
He's riveted.
Pete just let me know that he was able, as of right now, to make an annual FastPass with no room reservation.
Oh, wow.
I am too, but that's not true because we did have a room reservation. If we hadn't had that reservation and not been invited to the test, we wouldn't have been able to.
He said he did it just right now.
But I'm saying, like, right? Are you?
But he was on the reservation for that. No. But he's already been invited to the testing because he had that room reservation. If I hadn't been on that reservation, I don't think I would have been able to do it.
Okay.
So what do you know? Yeah, from once you get the band and our annual passes were added and we got the room, that was all taken care of. Now we have everything taken care of for the future. We can still use our bands.
Corey's an annual pass holder. If he puts his annual pass on the My Disney Experience app, he won't be able to because he's never had a resort reservation that's been brought into testing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's why Pete's able to do it. I can too on my app.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's everything. You know, there's lots of stuff that we need to clarify.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're getting confirmation that that's right. All right. So scheduling the FastPass Plus, you're allowed to schedule 3 reservations for one park in a day. So you can't park hop right now with the FastPass Plus system. I mean, you can park hop, but you can't book multiple reservations for different parks. Right. So what I did was I chose 2 attractions and then one nighttime show. I chose Illuminations because we were going to Epcot because I wanted to see what that experience was like. So I chose Soarin', Test Track, and Illuminations. And what Disney allows you to do on the app or on the website is to set them by priority. So say I really want to do Illuminations, but then so I'll put that at the top, and then Test Track and Soarin' will go underneath it. And say the other 2 aren't available, it will try its best to make you have the Illuminations FastPass Plus available to you. And then once you submit that, it brings you into this screen where it gives you 4 options. And they're kind of morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Although they're kind of jumbled. Sometimes it's not always that cut and dry. And then you choose one of those 4 options. And then you confirm them. And then they're on your reservation. And then you can individually go and reschedule and adjust times for certain ones.
So at that point in the My Disney Experience, were you given times for Fast Passes?
Yes, you're given times on the 4 options. Okay. So like I said, there's a morning one, an afternoon, evening, night. Those have set times to them.
Oh, okay. I thought it just was like pick morning, afternoon, evening.
No. Each one has an individual time.
Gotcha.
And you choose the one that's closest to what you want to do in your day. And then when you get to the next screen and you confirm it, then you can go in and say, oh, Soarin' was a little late. I'm going to move it an hour earlier. If you can. If it's available. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Well, not only that, but one of the things we also noticed whenever we are testing stuff out is, say you wanted to go see in the Magic Kingdom, if you want to go see the electrical parade, but you choose the options that are mostly during the day, all the fast passes you want, they'll actually suggest that in one of the options, like, hey, maybe you want to do the afternoon parade because this is the time of day you're going to be at the park. Why get 3 afternoon fast passes and then one all the way at night? So they try to suggest other options for you too. You don't have to do them. At the end of the day, you can get whatever you want as long as it's available, and you can pick the time. But they also want to make sure that you use your time wisely, and you get to do things at the right time. So,
did you find your choices to be plentiful, or were you limited into what you could choose?
No, we saw a lot of availability. However, we were the first day.
I was just going to say that. The other thing, too, is you were really early in the system.
I think that had a lot to do with it.
As this rolls out with more guests from
and
different
more people
resorts
using it.
And more time in advance to plan these fast passes,
Exactly.
I think we'll find that...
it's going to be like booking a restaurant.
Yeah.
Cinderella's
That's what really worries me. I mean, I'm a proponent of this system. I think it's really cool Disney's doing this. I love the leap forward in technology, but I really worry about that if you don't book 180 days or whatever it is now, 90 days in advance for a fast pass, you're not going to get one for Soarin'.
Disney is saying that they're leaving.
No, they are
a
leaving
selection
open
for that day.
But I still worry about that.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that.
I still get concerned about
Well,
that.
I mean, it's almost the same thing now with the paper fast passes. Sometimes if you're not there within the first 2 hours of the park being open, the fast passes are gone. I mean, there's no way to really guarantee that you'll be able to, get a fast pass throughout the day. But
as great as this all is, but as a person who worked at a theme park, one of the things you learn is that whenever you don't have fast passes or express pass at Universal or anything like that, the lines move quicker.
Absolutely.
It's whenever you start adding in all those reservation times that it slows down for the regular line. So if they limit the amount of fast passes you can get because you have to plan them ahead of time, and that leaves more standby line guests getting on the ride, then it's just better for everyone. You might not have as many fast passes throughout the day, but at the same time, you're not going to be waiting maybe 60 minutes for Splash Mountain anymore. Might only be like a 40-minute wait. And that's still not great for some people. They expect shorter lines than that, but then, plan at less busy times of the year. If you want to get on lots of stuff, there's always different options for you. It doesn't have to solely rely on FastPass.
Right. And they're also adding new FastPass attractions as well for this. Is that correct?
Well, pretty much what they're doing is they're trying to get they're trying to get every single attraction available for FastPass Plus. So we noticed it in Living with the Land, Spaceship Earth. Living with the Land always had FastPass.
So that you can book it in some way, whatever that perk is.
Exactly. Now, obviously, I have a feeling people aren't really going to want to book a FastPass to Spaceship Earth because it uses up one of your 3.
Yeah, and you get there, there's no line. It's like,
It seems like a little bit of a waste. But
I think what happens, too, is then you might have that mentality of, well, that's the only thing I can get. Let me use it. So people will feel satisfied that they have something.
Probably.
So you've scheduled your fast passes. You went to the park.
Yeah, one thing before we move on from that, I just want to mention that sometimes they'll throw in a bonus for you. So like I said, you choose your 3. Sometimes when you move to the next screen and they have 4 options, there'll be a 4th thing in it. Sometimes they'll tell you what it is. Sometimes they'll say, oh, here's a bonus for, I don't know, Maelstrom. And then you can choose that. But then, it's not guaranteed, but sometimes they'll do that. So it's kind of a nice thing that they'll throw in. So we ended up being able to book 4 FastPass Plus reservations. Right. So that's just one thing. But you're right. So then we went to Epcot, and we used our Magic Bands to get into the park at the turnstiles. So in the exact same way that you would use an annual pass or one of the new Key to the World cards from your resort, it's the exact same procedure. You hold it up to the scanner, and you also put your finger on the
Mickey head.
Biometric.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
You don't put your finger on the Mickey head. You put and then you wait for it to turn green. This is where we noticed a little bit of sensitivity with the scanner because we had to be extremely particular on where the Mickey head touched, exactly centered on the scanner.
I never had any issues.
Well, the cast member got a little snippy with me to make sure I hit it. Right.
That's because I'm just good and you're not.
I didn't have any issues except for once, and the cast member said, go down 1 more centimeter. Go down 1 more centimeter.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's something that they're just testing out because they don't, especially at the turnstiles, they don't want to have the readers be too, the range to be too high because it could get someone else's
Somebody could
ticket.
walk past and their arm could swing and it could read it as going in.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I think that they have to be very specific with these ones in
What is
particular.
this we're looking at now? Is that the turnstile?
No.
No.
Okay.
That's that sort of iPhone adapter thing they have, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was actually at the Illuminations one, which...
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we went to the park, we went straight to our Soarin' FastPass. And it was extremely easy. It's the same procedure as going through the turnstile. You just hit your Magic Band to the scanner. So there's no finger.
When you walk up to the entrance of Soren, you see the standby entrance, and then you also see what?
It's the same exact FastPass line. Sometimes they're putting a little plus right next to it. They're just kind of updating the language. But it's the same FastPass line. They're still accepting paper FastPasses in that line.
Right.
And so it scans. The cast member, I noticed here, had a small monitor near the podium, and it said my name on it. And he thanked me by name after I scanned my Magic Band, which I thought was a cool touch. I think people might get a little freaked out by that, but I don't know. I thought it was cool, and I think it's a hint kind of what's going to come.
But it's in the same way, it's just a more advanced version of the birthday button, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, they talked about this being a plus of the whole system was that they can more personalize experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's say it was your birthday and you scanned your wrist. They could have said, "Happy birthday, Sean."
And I have no doubt that will be on here. And that when you scan a FastPass, it'll show, oh, it's Sean's birthday. They'll say something to you.
So. Taking that to the next level, we've always heard rumors about maybe Mickey will know your name, in the future. You go up and you scan, and all of a sudden characters know your name as well.
Exactly.
So sorry. Whenever you get up to the FastPass, like Sean said, they still accept your regular FastPasses, and then they have the same little whatever scanners that they do at the turnstiles. They look the exact same.
It's like that orb kind of looking thing.
And you first do it there. And they scan it, they let you in the same way they would look at your FastPass time and let you in from there. So we never tried to see what would happen if we go
early or late.
Yeah, early or late. We didn't try.
That's a good point.
That was a question I was going to ask you. Did you test it at all? Did you go early, or did you go one you didn't have one for?
We didn't, but it's something that I want to do really quickly here. It was just we wanted to get the most out of it and check all three. So now that we've done that, I would like to go back another day, and I'm okay with wasting a FastPass now that it's all done with, and try to really test out and see what happens if you go early or go late. I mean, I'm guessing it's just going to pop up on the screen, still have your name, but it's going to have an X.
I'd be really curious for late arrivals and how far you could push it.
Well, because there's always that. It's the same as the paper ones because they're fairly strict with that now.
When you make them, do they say you have a certain amount of time to use it?
You have an hour limit, just like a regular FastPass.
So it says it on the screen.
Exactly, and that's another good point. If you're using your Magic Band, it's not you don't have a piece of paper to read the time, so you kind of have to keep track in your head. Oh,
or the app. I mean, if you're savvy enough to carry around.
If you want to check all the time,
if you have your smartphone with you, it'll be right there. On your plans.
The other thing I understand too, I don't know if you guys saw this or experienced it or not, but there were supposed to be cast members throughout the park with handheld readers and iPads, so that if you did forget your times, you could go up and they could read them and say, "Oh yeah, you've got a fast."
I didn't see any of those. However, I have seen photos in Hollywood studios of MyMagic Plus kiosks set up where it's just a computer screen and a scanner that you can go scan your band or your room key, and it'll tell you your information. It'll tell you your dining reservations.
I did see somebody at Epcot outside of guest relations. They had one of those kiosks as well.
Yeah.
So FastPass worked great.
It did. And just before we move on, I just want to say where the cast member is there to collect your paper FastPasses down the line, they also have a second set of scanners.
Okay.
And that's where the cast member will take your FastPass. The first one checks it, and then they collect it later on. But it wasn't working in Soren. They didn't have it on. The guy asked for a FastPass, and we just held up our band, said, we have Magic Bands.
That more or less comes into play on staffing, and that day they had two people working where you would normally give your FastPass, so one of them was taking it while the other was monitoring the line.
Right.
If there's just one person there, he's going to take the FastPasses, monitor the line, and he's going to make you put your band up to it. They just didn't make us do it that day, but they did make us do it.
We did do it in test track.
Exactly. FastPass requires 2 points of contact, and that ensures that people don't just skip over the line and then all of a sudden
sneak through.
Yeah, sneak through. So
in test track, we did scan it the first time. We got into the beginning of the line, and then when they were collecting the paper FastPasses, we scanned it a second time. It confirmed that we had a valid FastPass.
Now, test track had a little extra functionality.
Yeah, test track was really cool because we got to use our bands to design the car. So this attraction has that technology where you can design your car, then use it throughout the ride. You scan it before you get on, after to see how you performed and stuff like that. So there was none of those little white cards that.
And they're still handing those out for people that do not have Magic Bands. Yeah. But this is great that you can just go in.
We actually surprised the girl. She was handing them out, and we said, "Oh no, thanks. We have these." And she was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we ended up doing that, so it was pretty neat.
Yeah, and with those, just to note, but if you have anything that has an RFID chip in it, whether it's your annual pass, it doesn't even have to be Disney related from what I'm understanding from some people. If it has the RFID chip in there, you can still use it at like test track.
Because it all comes down to a number.
Yep.
Right.
So you're just basically putting the information on an RFID chip and then calling it back later. So,
but it's cool that I hope more attractions in the future do stuff like that with the Magic Bands. I really do. I really do hope that more interactive things,
especially in the queues, because we're seeing all these new updates to the Little Mermaid queue with the different game you can play, even Soarin' queue. So why not bring that in somehow? I'm sure they will eventually. So this picture is up, but this is when we went to Illuminations. So this was our final FastPass, and there was a little bit of a confusion because we knew what time we were supposed to go, show up for our reservation, but we had no idea where to go.
Right.
So we kind of looked around and we saw that there was this kind of roped off area right near the port of entry store, which is one of the kind of towers in the very front and center of World Showcase before
right when
you
you
actually
cross
turn.
the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we went up and asked them, and they said, yes, this is where you go. However, when it came to scan our Magic Bands, he asked if we were supposed to be here or if we were supposed to be in the Germany location. And we were kind of surprised by this because our app said nothing about what location to go.
We had no hint as to where to go at all. We just assumed that if they're going to do a private area for Illuminations, it's probably going to end up being at that port of entry.
Exactly.
area.
And so we ended up talking to the cast member, and he said that, in the future, you will be able to choose which location you want between these two. I don't know if they'll expand that or not, but as of, right now, they're testing this location right in the center, but then also a small one over near Germany.
Yeah. And we saw whenever we did the Magic Kingdom test just through the app that whenever we booked a parade, it did show us where it was actually you were supposed to go for it. It said Frontierland viewing, so they probably also have a Main Street viewing one. For Illuminations that night, it didn't tell us where, but I'm sure they will fix that immediately and it won't happen again.
Yeah. Because it's nice to have that.
And I'm sure
customization.
at a certain point, all cast members in that particular area will be trained to know exactly where that is.
Exactly.
So if I had gone into the merchandise location, I was like, where's this Illuminations supposed to go? Yeah, over there.
So now that you guys are set up, you can go on right now and say you're going to Epcot tonight. You decide to. You can go ahead and reserve a spot for Illuminations.
We can.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And I think it's the combination of those two things. We have annual pass, and then we were selected to be in the test because we had a resort reservation.
I want to talk a little more about Illuminations. I'm sure you do, to both the viewing area and this device.
Yeah, so we went up to the cast member, and he had an iPod Touch, with kind of a funny case on the back that had the scanner that will read the RFID chip in your band or your room key. And so that's when he scanned it and kind of saw that we weren't on the list, and that's when he asked us whether we were supposed to be there or in Germany. And so what ended up happening, he just added us to the... Because we showed him our app. We all had our iPhones out that said, Illuminations 835.
See? Prove it. Look,
Yeah, show me a picture. But yeah, so he just added us to the thing, let us through, no problem. And I think there were 15 people in there.
And I wonder if they're going to start using that, like if people reserve this and, we're not going to go to Illuminations, and the guy there sees, okay, we have a few no-shows, so we have this many slots to let people in.
Well,
I wonder if they'll use that.
Well, yeah, so we went in, there were like 15 people in this huge area.
Early on in the whole program.
Yeah, so this was the first day, so there weren't many people trying it. We noticed as the show went on that they just opened up the ropes and just let everyone in that was kind of standing around the area, so that weren't participating in the FastPass Plus program.
But that's exactly what FastPass is. We reserved our spots. We got to come there 20 minutes early, and we knew that we were going to have the area. And then after that, it's open to standby.
And that's a really great spot. It's pretty dead center on...
It was perfect for viewing.
Yeah, but...
They need to add speakers because you could barely hear any of the music or the audio.
The music is muffled. I think the speakers are pointed in such a way that they're pointed away from that one particular spot we were in. But it was a beautiful view.
And I'm
Is
sure
this the spot that they used to use for handicapped viewing?
it's right next to a current handicap viewing location. So I'm sure they kind of just segmented it off and left some for FastPass Plus. But I'm sure that if they get the feedback that the sound's not great, they'll add something.
That particular area was fairly large. I could see at least 50 people getting into that
comfortably.
Area.
Yeah. So that was our Illuminations experience. And I think it's nice that they're adding FastPass Plus to these things like parades and nighttime shows, just to kind of give you more option to really secure a good spot.
And character meet and greets
Yeah.
in the future. So
We only saw those available for the ones that are kind of in a specific location.
Yeah,
so
Chippendale.
Mickey,
That have
Chippendale.
lines.
the Epcot character-
yeah. Oh, look, I can get all these fast passes for Chippendale.
No one wants to see
They're giving them away.
Yeah.
Poor Chippendale.
Like Mickey and Minnie on Main Street. We saw that. We also saw a character spot in Epcot. So those were available.
And I think that's where you mentioned, Dustin, that, they'll know the kids' names and they'll be able to interact with them on a one-to-one level.
I know there have been talks about that kind of technology being formulated. I think that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do we want to talk at all more about what else this device is used for?
I think we should just mention the table service experience we had.
Okay.
So we went to Tutto Italia for kind of like a lunch. And when we got to the point where we wanted to pay, she came over with the exact same device that they used at Illuminations, the same kind of iPod with the scanner on the back of it. And this was the server, and so she came over and tried to scan it. However, it wasn't working at the time. And she explained that they've had a couple issues with it. And so we just took our Key to the World card out of our pocket and paid just like the exact same way, just without scanning.
So what we're seeing now is at bars and at restaurants, they're bringing these tableside, these devices tableside.
And in addition to just the scanner, it also had a swipe mechanism so that you could pay with credit card,
Right.
Which I think is fantastic.
We experienced that at Narcoossee's.
Yeah.
Just for a regular credit card they brought to the table, which is something we experienced in Europe.
Right.
Which was sort of took our breath away, and we thought, wow, this is weird, but I think it's the way of the
They
future.
would never take your credit card away from the table.
Right. Which
And
I
that's,
think,
we saw that in Vancouver, actually, too, Canada. I think they can't take your card away from
Right.
you. Yeah.
So I think that's a level of security for people, too.
It is.
That happens right in front of you. So that's pretty cool.
It's a nice bonus because you're not going to want to undo your wristband and say, here, take that with
Yeah.
you.
Take it in the back. When you paid with your Key to the World cards, did you use the RFID on the Key to the World, or did you use...
I honestly don't remember that specifically. Do you remember?
I'm not sure, but like you said, they have the
I think she
functionality
might
to
have
swipe.
swiped it. Yeah. I think if her scanner was working right on the device, it would have scanned either a Magic Band or
was
a
the
Key to the
scanner,
World.
it wasn't
I think
your
it
band.
was. Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the issues that we're going to see most with this is that the scanners aren't going to be working just because they are so brand new. They've had time to put out the turnstiles and test those
Yeah.
for a while, as well as the same checkout devices that are at all the registers. Those have been around for a while now, but the iPod versions haven't been. So I think if one of them's going to be buggy right now, they're basically all.
I mean, these are
be.
brand spanking new.
Was there any reason? Were you asked to sign something after?
No, but that goes into what I wanted to mention. When you check into the resort and you get your Key to the World or your Magic Bands, you have to enter a 4-digit PIN code. And that's like your security code for your entire trip. Whenever you want to make a purchase, whether it be dining or merchandise at a shop. And so that's what you have to enter.
That's your electronic signature.
Exactly.
Did you do it for all purchases? Because I know now they do purchases under $50 or $25 you don't even have to sign for.
Oh, I think we only made one purchase. That was for the
Well, I think that's what
accessories.
people are worried about. If they lose one of these, is somebody going to go
I think
run
that-
wild
that's
with
great
this?
that you put
Exactly.
a pin in, and that makes it secure.
From every time I've tested it, when my parents were here with the Key to the World cards, it doesn't matter if it costs 50 cents or $1,000. You still have to put in that code every single time.
What did you buy for 50 cents at Disney World?
His parents are very cheap.
Aw, they wouldn't appreciate that.
They're watching.
I didn't say it. Okay.
Sorry, Craig's mom. John said it.
They're buying stuff for 50 cents.
I'm the cheap one.
Oh, you were the one.
Yes, I'm the cheap
Craig
one.
is very cheap.
Craig was using hyperbole.
That's why I make them come down here for vacation because
You
I
pay
don't
for
want to pay to
everything.
travel up there.
That's a lie. He buys everything.
He does. He's a good kid.
Yeah, so that added security. It helps make people feel safer when they, scan their... And so if you should lose it, I mean, I have a feeling that if someone tries to... there might be a checkpoint, so if you spend so much money, maybe the cast member will ask for an ID. Because I remember even when I was working at the Emporium, if someone wanted to pay with their room key and it was over a certain amount, I would ask to see their ID card with it, just to confirm the names. So maybe there will be that kind of checkpoint.
Is there any functionality on the app to review your folio and your purchases?
I don't believe as of right now.
I wonder if that
So right
will...
now you still get folio shock on your last day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the last day.
And I got to tell you, it's easy. I didn't
know.
really buy anything, but I just know how easy this is to scan, and you really will just not think about it. And I mean, we had that news story a few weeks ago that they're seeing increased spending And I could really see that.
As a matter of fact, today is sometime after the stock market closes, Disney's going to report first quarter, whatever quarter it is, earnings, and they're supposed to get an update on Magic Bands, on the impact of Magic Bands on spending at the park. So we should see that sometime tonight. Be interesting to see it.
Yeah. Just to go into a little more about the account itself, you can, like I said, you have to enter in your valid park admission onto your account in order to participate in FastPass Plus. One good thing and also kind of bad thing is it keeps track of everything. So when I went into my account, it had like 2 room keys that I used in the past year that you can go in and deactivate and say that they're not active. You can add more than 1 ticket too. So what if you have 2, you have like a 1-day park ticket, but then you bought a park hopper later, you can add them to the same account and kind of specify which one's active and which one you want to use versus which one's kind of dormant in the background. In the same way, you can technically add more than 1 Magic Band to your account because it's all a number. So they offer ways to keep track of that in your account, either on the app or the website. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you have 2 tickets, you can keep track of what that.
I think this is hard for people. I think you guys are so technically savvy. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling, I think about people like my folks. Well, this would have driven them crazy. And I understand that there's help desks, but I see people being really frustrated by this.
There's that, I think that's true of, anything that, that changes and moves forward. I mean, there are people who still don't know how to use FastPass, who get to the parks and don't know what to do with it.
But we also have, as of right now anyway, we have the option. You can do it the old-fashioned way right now.
Exactly. There's nothing making you participate in this.
Yeah.
And I just there's a comment about FastPass I want to say.
Okay.
Disney's official stance is if you participate in the FastPass Plus program, you're not going to be allowed to get old-fashioned paper FastPasses. I don't think that's being enforced right now because I think it's a testing phase. And so I think if you are coming in the next whatever and you are chosen to participate in that, you still will be able to get paper FastPasses.
I was at Magic Kingdom the other day, and like you said, this is still in the testing phase, and we don't know what will change, but I had booked fast passes, but I was also able to put my actual card in the machine and receive one for what ended up being an exact same time as another FastPass Plus that I had booked.
So I have a feeling that in the future, if they really want to enforce this, they'll do something in the machines to read your RFID.
To prevent hoarding.
Because, they already have the functionality that says you already have a FastPass. Why, just take it the next level and say you already have a FastPass Plus.
But I think that's their official stance. We got a lot of questions about that. So
okay. Very good.
What was the best thing about this whole thing, this experience? What was like the one thing you went, oh my God, that's so cool?
Probably for me, just like how simple it was to just have this on your wrist. There was no, when you get a paper FastPass, or even when you pay for something in the park, you have to take your wallet out. I always keep my FastPasses in there. You have to keep track of everything. This is just so simple. You honestly just have it on your wrist and scan it, whatever. The
single coolest thing for me is all the new devices and technology they're putting in place, like these readers, these scanners that look like a iPod Touch. I think coming table side with those, I think, is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's really cool when it lights up. When we were in Soarin', it's inside and it's really, fairly dark. The entire thing, I took a picture and put it on my Facebook, but the green just like lit up the entire area, and it looks so like science fiction-y, but it's cool.
All right, so flip side of that, what happened that was not so cool or frustrating, or what could they do better?
I think we were very lucky. I'm reading reports even on like the theme park and attractions board that people are having issues, whether it be not planning ahead of time and going to the resort and having issues there, or actually just these not being recognized at the scanners. We didn't have any of those issues. I mean, there were a couple, like I said, they're at the table service, but there was always a backup, and it didn't take too much out of our time. I know you had some issues at the resort, but I mean, we knew it was testing.
Right.
Do you think there will be a point where someone staying at the Grand Floridian gets more perks than someone staying at Pop Century?
We've talked about this in the past. I
think yes. I think absolutely.
They get a gold band.
I think absolutely positively yes. It's going to be, depending on where you stay, you might get more fast passes. You might get something extra that no one else gets.
Or they start class systeming the Illuminations places where you get to stand.
Could be. There's a lot of options with this now.
And I'm very interested to see where this goes in the future as they keep adding features. Maybe some of those features like Kevin just said. And
I want to see the app improved. I want to see push notifications. Oh, your FastPass is ready. Oh, your dining is 10 minutes away. Go check in. Stuff like that. So I think we'll see some of that stuff.
All right. Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Craig. And thanks to everybody for contributing to this conversation on what has been a very hot topic recently. Again, if you haven't seen the very informative video and blog that Sean and Craig did along with on their experience the other day, definitely check that out. Again, it'll be in the show notes, and you can check the blog for more information. Again, thanks, guys, for a great segment here, and we will see you next time for the Diz Unplugged. Make sure you stick around if you're watching live for the next episode.